everybody has the same amount. They have the same amount.
Ultimately, intrinsically, yeah, potentially.
So, I think we can pursue this whole thing about how to, you know, the understanding of experience and experience itself. I consider them equal, and eventually they join in their one experience, one knowingness. And, you know, there's many questions come up.
So you mentioned 7 to 10 significant shifts. Was there for you ever a defining moment that you would say marked the transition into the awakened state, if you want to use that phrase?
Well, since you asked me to, you know, let the cat out of the bag completely on this interview, so I will. It started, my first transition was 4 or 5 years old. And I had an experience, boom, where I won't relate it because I've done it at other interviews, but I suddenly realized, I was 4 years old, that there's a field of consciousness. I didn't have the ability to think about it, but I saw it and felt it. It was separate from me, but it was everywhere, all around me. And since that time, believe it or not, I started thinking about what the heck is that, right? What the, and that was my first one. What the heck is this field of light or consciousness or knowingness or whatever it was? It wasn't knowingness at that stage. It was more like a sight. I saw something, but it was always there. And I don't know that it ever went away. And then in my teens, I had another kind of awakening when this call it a field of consciousness, kind of moved into my body, and my body and the consciousness felt similar. And so I said, what the heck is this? Right? What the heck is this? It was very natural, very normal. And as I speak about these experiences, Rick was completely right in saying, nobody has to have what I have, and I don't have to have what other people have. There's a similarity to the experience of the awakened mind, but we're all totally different. Imagine for a moment if, this will never happen, but let's say 10 enlightened people walked into this room right now. They're standing right there.
How about into a bar? 10 enlightened people walk into a bar.
And they all sit down, and you're looking at them. And, well, you reminded me of a joke. You know, I was born in Finland, a Finnish joke about a bar. You want to hear it?
Sure.
This is the typical Finnish person. Two middle-aged or older Finns go to a bar. They've known each other for 20 years. They've been sitting there drinking for 2 or 3 hours, and one turns to the other and says, so how's everything with you? And the other guy turns to him and says, did we come here to talk or drink?
That's pretty good.
You know what I mean? That's probably the first joke I've ever said, sort of publicly. But, you know, there's a certain, all my Finnish relatives, they're not my brother, they don't talk much, you know, they're very quiet.
It's a Finnish thing.
Yeah, it's a Finnish thing. I'm very outgoing.
Yeah, once you get going.
I can get going. Where was I before?
We're talking about, was there a defining moment for you?
Okay, so...
it sounds like there's been a number of defining moments. There's no one defining moment that you could say that was it.
The moment I had a defining moment at any time in my life, I was on, going forward, wanted to go, you know.
So you'd have one and you think, but that's not the end of it.
Yes.
Right.
But I know that wasn't the end of it because I don't want to make any claims, but let's say, for instance, if my mind was awake, you'd see a little bit where you're going, and you're seeing a little bit where you come from. So there's never a wall here or a wall here. It's all kind of in the present, and you're okay, I'm going to go there now. I'm going to move forward, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, and that went on, let's say in my early 20s.
So some people are going to hear that, and they're going to say, well, isn't enlightenment a kind of a final resting place where you just can chill, and you're no longer chasing the dangling carrot of something more?
I'll get to that.
Okay. We've talked about that in previous interviews too, but it's...
Yes, and that's completely true.
Yeah.
And it's true inside, and then eventually with time it's an see-through kind of experience where you see consciousness from the inside to the outside. And you know, you might know you've made it, and you know you've made it, but that doesn't mean you don't get to know more.